Gracious and loving God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable unto you, my God, my strength, and my Redeemer. Amen. Just turn it off and I'll talk louder. So, why are we here? Do you ever wonder what your purpose is in this life? I do. You know, sometimes I think that God has a specific plan for me. And sometimes I think there is really no purpose. And I get confused. And I get discouraged. And then I stop and I look at the messages that have been left for me, that have been left for all of us. The message today is a simple one. Love your neighbor. And we hear it first in Leviticus. You shall not take vengeance or bear any grudge against any of your own people, but you should love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus, knowing that his audience knew the words of Leviticus, said, you've heard it said, love your neighbor, but hate your enemy. But he continued. He continued. Love your enemies and pray for your persecutors. You know, my friends, it is easy to love those who love us. It is easy to love those who are like us, to love those who agree with us. It is much harder to love those who are different, to love those who we don't easily understand. Years ago or so, Jesus said, love your neighbor. So, how are we doing? Let's think about how we're doing. In this country, even before we were a country, we people of European extraction looked at the people around us and saw that they were different. Different culture, different language, different color of skin, different religion. And we determined that we had the God-given right, because we were better, to take from him. To take their land, their livelihoods in terms of animals, such as the buffalo, and their very lives. And we moved them out of the way, and we treated them as if they didn't matter. Just as long as we got what we wanted, it was our right. And then we looked at the land, and we said, we need people to work this land. So we went to Africa, and we brought people to do that. And we looked at these people, and we determined that they were different. Different culture, different language, different color of skin, different religion. And we determined that we were better. And we had the right to classify them as less than human and to use them as we wanted. Now, others saw this land and they wanted a better life. So they left the lands of their birth and came for the promise. And we said, they're Irish, they're Chinese, they're Hispanic, they're Middle Eastern. They are different. Different culture, different language, different religion, different skin color. We are better. We have the right to classify them as less and to persecute them. And we looked at the people who are among us. We determined that obviously women were less than men and should be treated as less than human. We refused to allow them to make a living, to own or inherit property, or have the right to raise children after divorce, or to have the right to participate as full citizens by voting. And we looked at all of those people who have gender or sexual orientation differences. And we determined that they were mentally ill, or they were criminal, usually both. And we sent them to jail, or to mental institutions. And of course, we had the right to persecute them, even to kill them. So over the past 300 or so years, I think we've started to treat people a little better. A little better. We no longer own slaves. We allow people who are not Caucasian to vote. We generally accept Native Americans as a part of our society. We allow women to vote and to own property. I'm not sure I feel that. Well, maybe I should. We no longer automatically send gender different people to institutions. But we are not there yet. We still look at differences before we look at similarities. We still assume that those who are different are somehow less than we are. We may not say that they are less than human, but I think that at our deepest levels, we may really feel that they are indeed less than human, or at least some lesser human. And we claim the title children of God. But Jesus says that unless we love all, unless we love everybody, even those who are different, maybe especially those who are different, even those who are enemies, maybe especially those who are enemies, then we are not acting as true children of God. If we believe that we are loved by God, then, my friends, we are called to love those who do not love us. And we are called to love those who are different from us. And we are even called to love those who are unlovable because of their actions. And that means that we're called to look at the past. We're called to look at our treatment of others. All of those people that I started. And even if we're doing a better job than we used to do, We are called to make the next step. You know, maybe that next step is really simple. Maybe that next step is a smile at the bus stop. Maybe it's learning a little bit about someone else's culture. Maybe it's making a financial donation. Maybe it's ensuring that this little oasis that we call Milwaukee MCC is open and accepting to everyone. We might even, it's going to be hard, we might even want to reach out and welcome those who look a little different. Why? It's simple. Most of us came here because we felt outside. We felt outside of society. We felt outside of the church. We felt outside of our families of birth. And we found a place where we were accepted. We found a place where we were loved. And we can't change the past. We can't change how we were treated. We can't change how we may have treated others in the past. And we certainly can't change how our ancestors treated other people. But we can change how we act